Hey, what's up? I'm Ashley. Thank you for watching this video, and today we're going to be talking about Servant, Season 4, Episode 5, titled Neighbors. In the opening scene, we see Sean and Dorothy in bed together, and I'm like, what is this? Is this love and affection? Because we haven't seen this from them in so long, but it turns out that Dorothy didn't even know that Sean was in the bed with her, because when she wakes up, the first thing she says is, "You're breathing on me." So then she's like, "Help me get out the bed. I haven't been out the bed in so long." So Sean helps Dorothy get out the bed and into this wheelchair. They make it out to the stairs, and here comes Leanne. "What are you doing? She's not ready for this. She's in no condition to go downstairs." "If you don't shut up and mind your business," Sean said, "we got this." Leanne was so mad about this. I'm surprised she didn't set the house on fire with her supernatural powers. So Sean finally gets her downstairs with her little electric stair chair thing. I don't know what it's called. And as soon as he gets her downstairs, he walks away from her. She's in the hallway by herself at this point. And while she's sitting there by herself, someone slides a letter underneath the door. Dorothy is speed racing in her non-electric wheelchair to go get this letter before anybody else can get it. And by doing that, she ends up hurting herself. So everybody goes rushing to her, and they're like, "What happened? Sean just left her 9 seconds ago." He's like, "What happened? What did you do?" And then there goes Leanne. "I told you so." That's when Dorothy tells everyone to leave the room because she needs to be alone with Sean. So when they leave the room, they open up the letter. And the letter is from the CLS, the church, the cult. The letter said, "Give us the opportunity this Thursday after dark, and you shall be left in peace," and that they live close by. And as you know, in the last episode, a whole bunch of neighbors moved into the neighborhood on their same street. So they trying to come up with a plan with the Turners to get Leanne back. So that's when Dorothy says, "We have to throw a party welcoming all of the new neighbors. That's the only way for them to come in and snatch Leanne up." So they're like, in order for this plan to work, we have to get Julian out of the house. So they give Julian 1 ticket to this basketball game for himself. They tell him that Leanne has to stay home and help with things around the house. So you go by yourself. Julian is not about this at all. They kind of get into this argument because Dorothy tells him, out of all the girls in the world, you picked the most horrible one. Julian even goes to Sean later on and tells him, "What about Broco? You were supposed to have my back there. If you don't shut up." He goes on about how Dorothy and him are so wrong about Leanne. And Sean is telling him that Leanne destroys everything around her. And if you can't see that, then I'll go get medicated. Julian was telling Sean that he needs medication for the way that he be thinking about Leanne. But at the same time, I'm thinking it's Julian who's talking to Uncle George and the rest of the church members. I'm thinking he's putting on this front, acting like he's Team Leanne, when really he's not. He's the opposite, but we'll see. So Sean heads out the house to go invite the neighbors to the party. And of course, he gets stopped by, "I can't mind my business, Leanne." She said, "Where you going? Shouldn't you be at work?" And Sean lied to her and told her that there was a change in scheduling. But she knows that Sean is lying to her, and she keeps saying, "I love this family. I love this family. I love this family." It's time to let go, girl, because they don't love you. They're trying to get rid of you. So we see Sean going door to door, inviting the neighbors to the party Thursday around 7-ish. Then we see him at this young couple's house, and they have all the signs from being from this cult, but I'm thinking that it's too obvious and it's maybe someone else. But let me know what y'all think. Then we see Sean getting questioned again by Leanne. She continues to be her creepy self. She picks up this knife, she puts it to her hand and says, "Isn't it funny how something that can be so useful end up being so deadly if in the wrong hands?" Then starts pushing it into her hand until she starts bleeding. Sean remains calm on the outside at least and just takes the knife away from her slowly. It's time to lock up all the knives. And I think that they're trying to tell us that Leanne started off so useful in the beginning, like season 1, season 2, or whatever. Now, in this last season, she's becoming deadly. She's deadly. Beware. Dorothy sees Leanne outside with her weird church coat. Leanne is out there with her book of dark sketches that she draws in, tearing the pages out, handing them out to her homeless friends, and she's telling them that if you want something, you draw it and write it down. Then the answer will come to you. You just have to believe that you deserve it. Basically telling them to manifest. So all of the neighbors that they invited ended up coming to this party. While at this party, Sean and Dorothy are asking all of these questions, trying to find out who's from this cult so they can snatch Leanne up and take her back to where she came from. But they're not good at these questions. It's a bunch of art questions and religious questions. But Leanne is making her rounds as well. She's going up to the neighbors and she's asking them what made them move to the neighborhood, and specifically this street. And she tells them that this is a dangerous neighborhood. I was involved in a home invasion when I was at home all by myself. Girl, just exaggerating the whole thing. She knew what was up. She knew who was after her. And her only. Dorothy notices this scratch on one of the neighbors' necks, so she's thinking he must be from the cult. So she sets up this situation where him and Leanne ends up outside by themselves. Once they're outside, we find out that he's just an old creep because he has an open marriage with his wife. He's trying to bring Leanne in on the ride, but Leanne wants no parts of this. He was like, oh, I'm sorry, I must have read it wrong. You didn't read nothing. It was nothing to read. Once Dorothy notices that he's not snatching her up, she rolls to the door and interrupts it. So Leanne thanks her, but Dorothy tells her that wasn't to help you. So while the party's going on, Leanne's homeless friends are breaking into the neighbors' houses, trying to figure out which one is from the cult. One of her little homeless friends finds this picture in the house, and it obviously has something to do with this church, but we just don't know whose house it is yet. Whose house do y'all think that picture's in? I think that this scene with Julian was very interesting. It was very short, but at the same time, I think that it was foreshadowing something. We see him looking at this cake house that Sean made, and he breaks off and eats one of the windowsills. This cake house is their house. We see an even wider shot of the house, and in front of the house, it looks like it could be cake crumbs or something of the sort, which looks like dirt, and that little white part, a hole. And the reason why I bring this up is because of what happened at the end of the episode, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But Sean and Dorothy are worried because it's nearly the end of the party and no one has snatched Leanne up yet. They're like, what are we going to do? No one's taken her yet. What are we going to do? So Dorothy comes up with this plan to turn off the lights. So while Sean is going to blow this fuse, Dorothy is distracting the neighbors by playing this game. So the game starts, but they're not playing for long because Sean turns off the lights and they're like, don't worry, it's just an old house, and they take out these little lights. But Leanne is still there and not snatched up yet. So Dorothy goes to Sean and tells Sean, can you make it any darker? What's taking so long? But Sean's telling her to be patient and to not worry because they've done everything right. But the thing is, Leanne has overheard this whole conversation. So she knows that the Turners are trying to turn her into the church. Right after she finds out this information, two members of the church put these bags over Leanne's head and are trying to drag her out of the house. But Leanne is putting up a fight. Fight is an understatement. She made a whole earthquake. The house was cracked all up. It was cracked up. The chandelier almost fell on Sean. It could have killed him. But I think that Leanne stopped that chandelier. She's giving the Turners another try. She's like, I told y'all, I love y'all. I love this family. So she's giving them another chance. I wonder how many chances she's going to give them. I also think that who was trying to snatch her up wasn't at that party. But the whole time I'm thinking, where is Jericho? Before the party even started, they were like, we cannot take our eyes off of Jericho during this party. We got to keep him in front of us at all times. But Jericho was nowhere to be found. He was only seen for about 5 seconds. And we saw when Julian grabbed him when the earthquake happened. But other than that, we saw him one other time for about 3 seconds. But because of them trying to snatch Leanne up, Leanne didn't just cause an earthquake. She made a huge hole in front of the house. We see her come outside and stand in front of the hole. And we see her homeless friends gather around her. So I'm thinking, did one of them draw this? Like she asked them to? Did she draw this? I don't know. But it brings me back to this cake that Sean made. I think this cake was foreshadowing something because we can see their house and then we see what looks like can be a hole outside of their house. Is it just me or do y'all see the same thing? And I also find it interesting that it was Julian who was eating this cake. So it makes me believe even more that Julian is the one who's talking to these members of the cult. I don't know. That's just how my mind works. Because who else could the cult members be talking to in the family? Uncle George said that he's been talking to somebody in the family and they're on board to get rid of Leanne. So who else is it? I think Julian is putting on a front and he really wants to get rid of Leanne. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode in the comments so we can talk about it. And if you haven't already and want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.